Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hold on, let me just go ahead and get the tweet out here that we're live. Give me a second here. Gotta get the link. YouTube should make it easy so that I could just share the link right away. I don't know why it takes forever to do that. Okay, here. Copy. And let me put it to Twitter. Oops, that's Tumblr. There we go. All right, just tweeting this out so we could tell. Hold on here. Tune in now. Okay. All right, guys. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome everyone to my live stream. As promised, Sundays we're going to be doing a live stream on Sundays. So, welcome everybody to the official time of the first, live podcast, whatever you want to call it, show. So let me just post everything out there so everybody knows what's going on. I think everyone is aware. Okay. All right. Good. All right. So let's talk about some of the updates. And by the way, I apologize for any of the sound issues. I am outside and the wind is blowing, and I got this microphone out here, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. If any of you guys in the text can hear, it's okay. So a couple of things. I mean, we had a show that we were talking about with the Bolingbrook Imam. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Welcome, MacBook Air. I think Mac Abir. Okay, welcome. I thought you were MacBook Air. Anyways, so we did a live show and we were talking about a couple of things about like the whole Bolingbrook Imam thing and the accusations that were going out, and some people got really upset by our commentary, at least my commentary on that issue. I mean, look, you're not always gonna, people are not always gonna agree with you all the time, right? There are gonna be people that will always disagree no matter what you say. But what I found personally odd about the whole situation was that you had a lady that had created that group and was spamming everywhere, was all over our video saying, oh, this guy, this imam, this, that, the whole thing. And for me, I don't think it's fair to have one person be the loudest mouthpiece for the whole thing, right? If you're going to make an accusation, I think the person being accused has the right to face their accuser. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if you are going to make an accusation against me, let's say it was me, somebody like me, and you're saying, oh, this person messaged me, in a very, very, very awkward manner, or was trying to, solicit something to me, I would like the chance to face my accuser, right? So that's the whole thing. I mean, I feel like it is a bit unfair to have the whole media outlet just present one side of the story, and I think like that is a problem. Alaikum salam, welcome, Nadia. So I think that's part of the problem, right? When you have one side that controls a narrative. So I'm not saying whether that imam was or at the Bolingbrook Masjid was guilty or not guilty or whatever. All I'm saying is that he should be presented with a fair opportunity to share his side. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, welcome Fatima Ali. So that's the whole thing. Like, I feel like that, every accuser should be able to face his, or every accused should be able to face his accuser, right? That's just how I look at it. But I think some people were upset about it. Looking fresh and cheap. Yeah, alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yeah, I got to shave though, but I decided not to. It's Sunday. Sunday lazy day, so we're gonna roll with it. Now let the beard. I'm already looking old, Johnny Shy. I see I got gray hairs, and what are you gonna do? It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times we've been involved in this whole cancel culture where one group will say, okay, this person is bad, and from now on we can't associate with him and everything, or her, and everything good or bad, everything good they've done has automatically been canceled out. And I think that's a very negative way to approach people, right? As Muslims, one of our biggest things is that we want to stick to a jama'ah. We want to stick to a sorry about the wind. I think. Yeah, the wind's coming in. Every time I make a video, the wind comes in. Huh? It's not funny. Um, Maybe I can put this here to kind of block that wind out. Hold on here. Maybe that'll make it a little bit better. Okay, hopefully that'll be better. Um, well, that's the whole problem, Nadia, right? I mean, and we as Muslims, the whole point is if we want to stick to the jama'ah, that means that we don't want to push people away, right? We don't want to push that person in the direction of the shaitan. Imagine, like in this particular case, I'm not saying he's innocent or not, or whatever. Let's say for hypotheticals that he's guilty, right? But this young kid obviously said things a while ago. And the thing, the thing is, like, I mean, I'm just laughing because of what Ali typed. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, floating man. But like, imagine this young kid. I mean, when I was 23, 24 years old, I did a lot of dumb shit, right? I did a lot of stupid things. I got into all kinds of fights. I probably was in places I shouldn't have been in. I just did things I shouldn't have been doing. And mashallah, tabarakallah, I see this young kid, who memorizes the Quran, who has a passion for his religion. And sure, he's going to make mistakes like a human being. But now, by ostracizing him from the community, now you've totally put this guy away from religion, right? Like now if he wants to pursue a career in being an alim or being a community leader, he's going to have to leave his community to do so. And that's very difficult for a 23, 24-year-old person, right? So now effectively what you've done is you have put him away from Islam, right? And that kind of behavior is not acceptable to me, right? I'd rather have that person come in and say, you know what? Let's sit down. Let's talk about it. If it was old, let's make an apology and let's be done with it. Let us as a community come together. If your own community can't forgive you and can't allow mistakes for you, then what other community would? I mean, right now you have a whole society of kuffar that are literally trying to find every single thing to nitpick on everything that you do, right? Oh, Muslims do this, Muslims do that, Muslims are responsible for that. And now it's coming from your own community. I don't buy it. Me personally, I don't like it. I mean, because I'm sure if any one of you went back far enough and look at social media posts and things that I liked or not liked, or over a couple of decades of being on the internet, you're gonna find stuff that maybe is inappropriate, and that is all part of growing up. Let me just read what Nadia is typing here. I think I should have just used this to be an example to youngsters that they should be careful on what they post, since we all say really stupid stuff, but no one is around to document it. Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. I think that's the key point. You know what I mean? Like that we should be a little bit more accepting and forgiving of young people that are making mistakes. No, Ali, this is not a bunker. This is just the backyard in the Chicago house here. So that's my neighbor. By the way, that neighbor behind me, he's really picky about stuff. Like apparently we had the lawnmower guy come in. He was blowing leaves, and he came out and goes, "Why the f are you blowing leaves on my lawn?" Oh, he started yelling about like about like leaves. Crazy people, man. Some of these some of these Anglos are a little bit crazy about their lawns, like lawn maintenance. Us ethnic people, we just kind of let the weeds grow. We don't really care too much. I got some mint leaves over there. Like the grass is coming out of the bricks over there. It doesn't even matter to me. I'm all right, but these people, they get crazy. But anyways, that's a whole different thing. That's a different tangent. but but anyways, so back to, I don't know how you guys feel about this. Yeah, it's really nice today. Alhamdulillah, the weather. It's a little humid, but I enjoy it because being in the Midwest, you don't get too many days of summer, right? And being in the Northeast, where I am now, for the most part, throughout the year, you don't get too many days of summer. So I will take the heat any day, because I am born to take heat. I mean, just look at the color of my skin. I mean, I got melanin, so we're made for the sun. There's a famous saying, "Ashamsu hamam al Arab." The sunlight is like the rejuvenation or the bath for the Arabs, so it rejuvenates them. Um, Let me see. I have a really, I know a brother who grew up to be a teacher in an Islamic school, and they found a picture of his back in the day. He was rocking a Subway Eat Fresh t-shirt that had an arrow pointing down. Wow. Yeah, and to be honest, that's just a silly shirt. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, yeah, that's what they should have done. Floating man says, "Oh, well, I have a really nitpicky neighbor too. She's an old white woman, but treats everyone with contempt regardless of skin color." Yeah, there's always one of those neighborhood watch types. We call them Karens, right? They're always out there. What are you doing out there? Your car was parked the wrong way. Your mailbox, the flag wasn't all the way up. Like, I mean, they think they're the neighborhood watch, right? But what are you gonna do? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just being too lenient because I am from a generation where we see a lot of things. I understand the point of the community too, where the man is responsible for the community, like he's teaching kids and stuff, and he is involved with that. But at the end of the day, I think if people can see a human nature of somebody, they're able to relate a little bit more, right? If someone is so perfect all the time and like they're almost like um, sinless, then it looks like that that they can't relate to them, you know. So maybe it could be a different angle. I don't know. I mean, for me personally, I like people that can come over their adversities and can grow from mistakes, and because I've been through that. I think any one of you guys listening right now can probably look back at your lives, maybe maybe like 10 years ago, and say, you know what, I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago, right? And I think if you are the same person that you were 10 years ago, there's a problem, right? I mean, there's no growth in your life. You're not getting anywhere in life, whether that means financially, whether that means in your relationships, whether that means in your mentality, in your religion, or anything it may be, right? You have to look at yourself and say, listen, 10 years ago, I was a totally different person. And if I don't look back and say, wow, that was pretty stupid to do that 10 years ago, then, and you're exactly in the same position, well, then, I think there's a problem with your growth. And I think you need to take that into consideration. So that's how I feel about that. But I think there's another conspiracy going on, or allegation about that guy Fatih, that Bosnian or Albanian reciter. Um, no, we'll get to the Hagia Sophia. Hagia Sophia, actually, I want to talk about that, but let me just talk about this. So I don't know too much about this whole Fatih thing. Apparently, they're alleging him to be a rapist and an abuser. And I'm gonna be honest. A lot of that is just, for me, it's hearsay. Until it's really proven and things like that. Like, Twitter is for clout. Twitter is for drama. There have been cases recently where women have come out and openly said, "Yeah, I lied about this situation because I wanted to, I was angry or whatever." So I don't know. I have no comment on that situation right now. Yeah, me neither. I hope and I assume the best, floating man. I mean, we're supposed to assume the best of our brothers, and until the evidence is proven, he is innocent. Um, yeah, that's the whole thing, Theodore Lang, right? Like, if you're really serious about that, if someone did rape somebody, my at least my advice would be, go to the authorities, because nobody condones rape, right? If someone is raping you, right, don't come to Twitter to tell you, right? And complain about it on Twitter. Go to the authorities, have him arrested, press charges, right? Things, go about it the legal way. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to be handled on Twitter. Bringing attention to it on Twitter and hoping people get behind your cause is not going to make him innocent or guilty. It's really only going to create drama. Yeah, and Eddie, I want to believe, but I also recognize that people are not perfect, and people will also make mistakes, right? I can't really, You know what I mean? Like I'm not naive to that either. You know what I mean? Like I know that people will be well, that's the whole thing, right? And that goes back to the concept we were talking about, Nadia, that I think the accused should have the right to face their accuser. If you're going to make an allegation about me, at least I should know who you are and what you're representing, right? So if you're not going to be able to do that, then I don't think I'm going to take your allegation very seriously, right? If someone came to me, let's say it's not about something severe, let's say it's something about offensive, right? Let's say somebody comes on my show or watches one of the show and goes, "Oh, you know what, Mort? What you said was really bad, and it was offensive to me as a as a white person or as a black person," right? If that person came to me one on one and I know who they were, I would say, "Listen, you know what? uh, I would try to empathize and say, what did I say that offended you? What did I say that bothered you? And let's talk about that, right? I would take that as a genuine criticism or whatever it may be. But if it is some Joe Schmo on the internet who has 0 followers and just came out and randomly typed that, I'm sorry, bro. I don't got time for that. You keep on walking. I don't have time for that. What did my shirt say? It was all a dream. I don't know if you guys know that, but that's a line from Biggie Smalls. It was all a dream. I used to read What Up magazines, Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine. Yeah. Anyways, um, but I live by that. It's all a dream, meaning that this world is it's a dream. It can be a good dream. It can be a bad dream. It's all temporary. You know what I mean? It could be, it's all temporary, right? You can make a good dream out of it or a bad dream out of it. You just hustle and you grind and you try to put your best foot forward and make the best of it, right? Sometimes when you have a dream, you wake up and you're like, man, is that a good dream or is that a bad dream? Like, what happened? Is that there's some good things in it, some bad things in it? So it's kind of like life. Life is a dream in a lot of ways. Um, so let's talk about the pressing issue, uh, the Hagia Sophia. A lot of people say Hagia Sophia, but the reality is that it is Hagia Sophia. That is the word for it. That is how the Turks refer to it as. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah barakatuh. Yuraharas. Shop. Welcome back, brother. Good to see you. So let's talk about the Hagia Sophia. So for me, I look, man, I'm gonna keep it blunt, okay? I could care less what France and Spain and America and Britain or anybody else has to say about it. I could care less what anybody has to say about it. I don't care what the president of ISNA has to say about it. I don't care what anyone says about it. Right now, the Hagia Sophia is a masjid, and it returned back to its status of a masjid. Right? Yeah, exactly, Ali. There were documents that the Sultan Mehmed he purchased the masjid, he paid for it, and the Ottoman Empire was meticulous at keeping records of financial transactions, appointment of people in positions, the taking of territories. They were very meticulous in their details. They used to write down a lot of and record a lot of their things, and that's why the Ottoman archive is huge. There is a Twitter and a Instagram user who has all he does is put out Ottoman archives, and every day is so much content because they were meticulous about doing that. So let's talk about the Hagia Sophia. First of all, I mean, it was a church at one point. It was an old pagan temple that was built upon and became a church. Justinian made it a church. But I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole history, but somewhere around the 1200s, there was the Fourth Crusade, where the Latin Crusade came and they were fighting each other. So the Latin Crusade came, and they basically there were crusaders, and they were pissed off that they were not paid, or they basically betrayed their own kind, and they wanted to loot the area and get money. So they looted the Hagia Sophia, and it basically was left in ruins. Then around 1300s, they rebuilt it or whatever it was, and then some earthquakes happened or whatever it may be, and pretty much it was left in a dilapidated state for since 1354. By the time the 1400s came, when 1452 they find it was completely almost destroyed, it was falling apart. I mean, it was not even actually it was actually the Orthodox had moved away from it because the Latin or the Roman Catholic Church came in, and the Orthodox considered them to be pagan heathens. So they thought that the Hagia Sophia was a temple of demonic and pagan rituals. So even the Orthodox Church, which originally started that that church, didn't even want to have services anymore because of the fact that they thought it was demon possessed. And then that was in 1452. In 1453, Sultan Mehmed, he came in and he conquers Constantinople, and he ends up buying the Hagia Sophia, and it becomes a masjid. Then the stupid idiot bastard Ataturk came in 1920 something, and he made it into a museum. He closed on all the Ottoman, kind of uh, prized possessions, and he de-Islamicized Turkey and took away the Arabic language, blah 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 blah, and essentially made it into a museum. And they actually they cleaned up the wall so you could reveal the iconography, like the pictures of Jesus and Mary and apostles, right? That was never shown before. They had actually painted over all of that. They didn't even allow that because as Muslims we don't have this kind of paganism in our masajids, right? We don't go in there and see pictures of people hanging on the wall. No thanks. We take a pass on that. We're not pagans, right? But then he scrubs the walls clean, and they had the pictures come out and whatnot. And then now, Alhamdulillah, about 86 years later, Erdogan, he actually makes it into a masjid finally, and he covers all these things up with big, huge badges or seals or shields of like Muhammad and Ali. He put it over there. So, hey, am I mad about it? Absolutely not. I am happy. I am. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned here as well too. Um, Point being is number one, I think I mean, Turkey has been trying to maintain a neutral stance for a long time with the hope of being accepted into the EU. And I think they're realizing that no matter what they do, the EU only wants Turkey as a economic partner. They don't want them as a voting member of the EU. So why would they continue to degrade, or degrade their own history, their own pride, just to appeal to a bunch of pagans who don't even have any religion anymore in Europe, outside, and say, we're gonna keep it a museum. Nah, I mean, screw that. You know what I mean? Like, we will do what's good for our people, right? We will do what's good for our culture, our people, and our history. You have no say in that. If you really cared about, making things the way they are, then go to Spain and make those churches into masajid again, right? Make them into masajid. You know, I'm not here trying to toot Erdogan's horn like he's the best leader. No, but I will respect good when good is done. And in this case, I think this is a sign of it's a morale booster for Muslims around the world, especially in Europe, where Europe has been taking a largely anti-Muslim stance on a lot of issues. It kind of makes it like, hey, you know what? Put it in your face. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're not here. We're not going to go anywhere. Islam is in the heart of Europe. It's going to be there. Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Ahla wa sahla. Welcome, Maliki Click. Hala feek. Welcome to the show, buddy. Good to see you. Yeah, exactly. I mean, turn them all back into masajid. That's how I feel about it. So yeah, I mean, I think any Muslim that is not happy that the Hagia Sophia is a masjid now, it should really check their iman. That's how I feel about it personally. I know people find that offensive, but if you have a problem with the Hagia Sophia becoming a masjid and the adhan being called and the first Jum'ah being prayed in 86 years, and you don't feel happy about that, Allah ya'eenak. Allah yahdik. Yani, you have a problem, right? There's a problem with your iman. That's just how I feel about it. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think we're all in agreement. Thankfully, most of my followers aren't stupid enough to think of it. You're in Bulgaria at the moment. Such shame. Yeah. How do you like Bulgaria, Floating Man? I was in Hungary for about 6 months, and it used to be part of the Ottoman Empire. And it's funny because there was a sultan that was buried there. I forgot his name. Gulbey, I think. they call him the Red Sultan because they call him like a devil because he came over, but he's buried there. And the Hungarians hate the Ottomans so much that part, his maqam, his grave, over there, that land area around it is considered Turkey. It's not even, the Hungarians didn't even want to have it as part of Hungary. So that portion of Hungary, that is, that grave area, is a property of Turkey actually, and they have to spend to maintain it and things like that. And so that's how much animosity that they have shown towards the Ottomans. But there are a group of Turkic people that were Muslims at one point, the Magyars, in Hungary. They moved into Romania, Hungary, and other areas. Anyways, the Hagia Sophia topic and the Ottomans are only safe targets for the sheikhs in the Gulf to talk about. Not even then, Theodore Lang. Even then, they don't want to, because right now the Saudis are not really cool with the Turkish, right? They see the Turks and the Qataris as the allies. And then, by the way, this is a good way to segue into what's happening into Yemen, but we'll talk about this for a moment because this is related to that. But yeah, I mean, right now, the Turkish and the Qataris, they are like kind of an allyship with each other. And the Saudis and the rest of the Khalij, minus Oman, are kind of together, right? So if you prop up the Turks, you will be seen as being an Ikhwani, right? So even they have to be careful of what they're talking about. You know what I mean? Like even they have to. It's not as clear cut. And everything goes back to politics, right? There is a lot of politics surrounding decisions that are made, and you've got to keep that in mind, or take that into consideration when this happens, right? So they idolize Vlad the Impaler, the savage. Yeah, actually, the funny thing is that the about Vlad the Impaler, the funny thing is Vlad Dracula. It was his brother that killed him. Radu. Radu was his brother, and they were both actually educated under the Ottomans in the schools of the Janissaries, I believe. But his own brother was the one that killed him, which is kind of interesting. And I don't really think he was a true Christian. He went everywhere where he could get funding, right? Whoever could say, I just hate the Ottomans, and whoever gives me money, more money, I'm gonna be with that side. But my goal is just to fight. Yeah, it's actually spelled Radu, right? That was. Well, I'm not sure if he was a Murtad or not. I know that he was educated with um, the Islamic stuff because it was part of the curriculum. But I think it was an agreement made from his dad, Dracula, that they would the sons would have to be educated under the Ottomans, and they would pay tributes. And I think that was a technique of the Ottomans to create a strength or a bond, and to also shape the minds of young people. Yes, Radu stayed a Muslim, absolutely. Uh, yeah, I don't know what it means exactly. Something I have to go look it up again. It's been a while. But no, Drac is his name. Vlad Dracula. I think it's yeah, Vlad Dracula. Something. I don't, whatever his, yeah, something like that. I don't know. We'll have to find out. Someone can maybe Google it and figure out what does Dracula and Drac mean. Something in Slavic. It might mean dragon or something. I don't know. But anyways, let's talk about Yemen for a little bit. Wait, do you work from home now? What? Yes, going to kill off the small. So I work from home. I work in IT. So the company that I work for, we've been able to work from home, which is a blessing, alhamdulillah. Um, they're not expecting anybody to come back until September. That's the targeted date, but who knows, depending on what's going to happen. It all depends. So I'm not really sure. But yeah, there are a lot of small businesses that are suffering right now in America. Mm, but people have insurance and they have payroll protection and things like that. So it has been, it's kind of iffy for some people. Um, you know, it's a tricky business, but I think right now people are more concerned about their safety. You know, I think that that is the number one priority right now because there are still people out there who think that Corona is a conspiracy and that there's nothing really happening out there, and that that this is just an NWO plot to take over the world and blah 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 blah, right? And we're seeing that in areas where this idea is prevalent, we're seeing like a huge uptick in Corona, right? So I don't know. I mean, I stopped telling people what to do. Do what you want. For me and my family, we're gonna stay isolated. We're gonna stay, with our mask on, using hand sanitizers, keeping our distance. Um, exactly, Nadia. Exactly. And then when it hits, they're like, "Oh my god!" And there are people who have gone to party thinking that it's fake, and they died from it. I did my most serious questions. I feel World War III is coming. You probably agree we should take. Yeah, I don't think World War III is coming. Not yet. I mean, it may come because of an economic collapse. I mean, look again. For us as Muslims, it's a little bit hard because is it World War III or is it al malhama, right? Is it going to be that battle between good and evil? Allahu alam. But here's my thing, Ali. If you really believe that World War III is going to happen, right? The question should be not when is it going to happen, or if, or um, or what other people think about it. You should just be preparing for what you should do. You know what I mean? Like if you think that World War III is here, well, build a bunker. Get used to living on your own. You know, get used to farming some things. You know what I mean? Like get used to being self sufficient. If you really believe it's happening, if I really believe it's happening, I will be out there, building all kinds of things. A shed, you know, um, I would be building a bunker. I will be, you know, all kinds of stuff. How to research, research to grow plants inside the home under UV lighting. I would be like jarring food away, stuff like that. Wiggles 117. Is there any truth to the idea that Mehmed had homosexual inclinations? Some people listen. I've never seen any of this. There are a lot of accusations about the Ottomans, but there was a period during the Tanzimat, like even after the Reformation period, where they legalized. They didn't legalize, I should say. They decriminalized sodomy, right? But that was much much later on. I don't see any evidence of that being. But remember, the Ottomans were very a complicated rule. Why? Because you had so many different factions of the Ummah and territories, right? You had Africa, you had India, modern day Pakistan, you had Khorasan, Persia, and Afghanistan. You had the Middle East, right? There are so many intricacies and so many nuances that it becomes, each area might have needed to adjust depending on what was going on. But that being said, does that mean that Sultan Mehmet was a homosexual? I have never seen any credible evidences to suggest that he was that kind of person. As a matter of fact, he had I believe, a harem, which was very much full of women. So take it for what you want. So let's kind of segue into Yemen. What is going on in Yemen? Well, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Yemen and the landscape of Yemen. Um, so just to give you an idea, where my family origins are is from the south of Yemen, in Hadramaut, specifically Makalla. Okay, that's where the origin of my family is. Okay, um, and that's where I feel probably the most, uh, I guess, inclinations towards, because it is something that is closer to me. But what is the overall position right now? So understand something right now. I don't know how many of you guys know this, but there's the north and there's the south, and for a long time they used to fight each other. Then there was a al-Wahdiyya, which was like where the unification of the north and south. Different tribes made agreements and they said we will take care of each other, we will unite, we will share resources, blah 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 blah. That happened around the 90s. Okay, um, but there's a group of, and in Yemen we have Zaydis. Zaydis are like they are Shia, but they're not like the Twelvers. They will pray behind the Sunnis. They will, as a matter of fact, take from the Shafi'i fiqh. They will, they do not curse any of the ashab of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Um, Things like that. Like they're very close to us. Okay, they just disagree about the imamate, meaning, but they don't believe the imams are ma'soom either. They don't believe that they are infallible. But a portion of them, um, Badr al-Din al-Houthi, uh, was studying, went to Iran and went to a Hawza. I think his name is Badruddin. Yeah, Badruddin al-Houthi. And he became radicalized with the Iranian idea of Wilayat al-Faqih. And that happened about 20 years ago. Something like that. Maybe a little under 20 years ago. And so they brought this idea. So basically he wanted to be like Hezbollah in Yemen. So Hezbollah in Lebanon, he wanted to be like that in Yemen. And so he was always constantly having trouble with the Yemeni government, and also naturally him being allied with Iran, did not like Saudi Arabia, and obviously Saudis had issues with the Shias that were in the eastern region, like Nimr al-Nimr, who was executed, and so forth. But eventually this escalates, and what happened is the strong man of Yemen, Ali Abdullah Saleh, he was the ruling Yemen for like 30 to 40 years, something like this, a long time. Okay. Um, and he loses the election to Hadi, who is a person from the south. He did not want to give up power. So what he does is he ends up allying with the Houthis, who during his reign he used to oppress. He used to imprison them and beat them up, right? But he allies with them in order to take down, to not surrender the rules. And by the way, this is all this election happened after a bunch of protests, because the South felt like the North has been ignoring them for a long time, and that is pretty much true. The resources are limited. Long story short, doesn't want to leave power, sides with the Houthis. His son opens up the door of the military to the Houthis. Houthis get weapons. They start attacking, taking over land. They take over land. They pretty much sidestep Ali Abdullah Saleh, ended up killing him. And in the process of that, they are attacking Saudi Arabia, and which they have been doing for the last 10 years, right? Because they feel like Saudi is, an enemy to them. And I'm not going to get into the issue of whether Saudi is really good or not. Or not. I don't want to get into that issue, but this is strictly political. Politically, they are enemies of each other, and Saudi views them as a threat to their sovereignty, right? Imagine having like, I don't know, like, imagine like Hezbollah being inside of Iraq, right? It would be just a problem, right? You're not from there. You're not, you don't have allegiance, whatever, and you are a problem. But anyways, the point being is that now they end up turning on Ali Abdullah Saleh, because Ali Abdullah Saleh later on said, you know what? Oh my God, I created a monster. These guys are horrible. They're like the ISIS in Yemen, right? They're killing people. They're doing things. And by the way, keep a note. It's so complicated. I'm trying to keep this condensed, but there's so many things. In the north, it's all these Houthis, right? In the middle, you have these regular people. Then you get down to Aden, Al Bayda, and these, from Al Bayda to Aden, and then going other areas, these are into Junub. They are like Al Junub who want to be free. They want to be free from the north. They are part of the STC, which is a coalition of the Emiratis and the Saudis. Then you have Al Qaeda in Al Mukalla, which is in Hadramaut and Shabwa, and they control a large territory there. And they are backed by, believe it or not, Qatar and Turkey. Okay, they have a strong and the Houthis will never want to come to them because that would be a slaughter for them. They don't want to come there. So you have these three different things that are going on right now. Right now they have a group called Quwwat al-Junub, and they want to basically just free South Yemen from both the Al Qaeda influence and the Houthi influence. They want South Yemen to be free, where they can run their own economy, where they can explore their oil, the resources, and build everything on their own without relying on the North for any type of money or assistance or central rule. Does that make sense? So, um, wait, killed the black guy. Is he the one they killed and put on a back? Yes, that is Ali Abdullah Saleh. Exactly, that's the one. Exactly. So, where does this leave Yemen today? Well, understand that Yemen will have a lot of players involved, just like Syria, because it is strategic. If you look at the map of Yemen, there's Bab al Mindab, which is like it's a very big trading port, and Mukalla is an opening to another trading port that is there, and it also is across Somalia, right? And that area in of itself is a huge trading area, right? That is what. Hold on one second. I'm just getting a message here. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. Um, so that is in a of its value of itself, and so naturally, when you have people that have this issue, that want control of this issue of this area because of the Gulf of Aden, right? And then because you see, um, from Aden and Mukalla and these areas, it's across Djibouti and Somalia. So you have the Gulf of Aden, and then that opens up that is an opening to the Red Sea, right? And the Red Sea, that goes to what? It goes to Sudan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Israel, Jordan, right? I mean, you can control the shipping lane, right? When you control the shipping there, of course, on the other side, right, you have the Mediterranean Sea, which is something completely different for them, but that's on the Egyptian side, and on the Palestinian and the Syrian side, a different side. But to get to Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Egypt, Djibouti, Somalia, Eritrea, this is all from the Red Sea, right? And then the Gulf of Aden opens up into the Arabian Sea, right, which goes to what? Afghanistan. It goes around to what? To the Persian Gulf, right? And then it goes up to Pakistan, and then to India, and then and then obviously it opens up into the Indian Ocean, right? Which eventually becomes the Pacific, right? So it's a huge trading. It is of strategic value and interest to people who get involved with trade, and even maritime security, like for militaries to position their aircraft carriers and things like that, right? So it is a strategic point. And so when you have that kind of influence, you're going to have different governments that are going to have their vested interest and want to, fight for their interests. And that means the Israelis, the Emiratis, the Yemenis, the different factions in Yemen, the Somalis, the Sudanese, the Egyptians, the Iranians, many people, right? The UAE did want to take, there's an island called Socotra. And if you look at really in the middle, it is part of Hadramaut. It is in the middle. It is one of the most remote islands in the world, a beautiful island. It's in between Somalia and Yemen. And they wanted to take that because there is a strategic influence in having that. Again, going back to maritime trade and developing it for tourism and things. I mean, many different things like that. So, yes, but that was pretty much overall rejected by them. Um, it did in a way because during the Arab Spring, there were protests in the South, and they were calling for a free South. But that predated the Arab Spring, though. But they chose to start rising up, and actually, Ali Abdullah Saleh began sending troops over to the South, especially Mukalla. And they started sniping protesters from the roof, and that led to a armed kind of rebellion, and that's why Ali Abdullah Saleh actually had his face burned. They bombed his his palace, and he ended up having to get treatment in Saudi Arabia because his face was blackened and burned from the fire, but he survived. So that's when they decided, oh crap, we need to have a new election, right? Because this is going to turn crazy again, and that's kind of the prequel to what happened. So it is related. It did probably inflame the already existing tension, but that those feelings were already there prior to the Arab Spring. Arab nationalism and pan-Arabism is the biggest obstacle for Islamic. Yeah, well, this has been an issue. This is why even Egypt went to fight Yemen back under Gamal Abdel Nasser, because Malik Faisal was fighting for pan-Islamism and Gamal was fighting for pan-Arabism, right? And that led to an unfortunate war between Yemen and Egypt, right? Yeah, Asabiya, Qabailiya. I mean, there's a lot of things that, Unsuriya, a lot of things. There are a lot of problems. Racism, tribalism, nationalism. There's a lot of things that are involved here. And, it's unfortunate. Um, there's a lot that could be said about that, right? But I think we kind of covered the issue of Yemen. Unless you guys have any questions about that, but if anything, just to take a moment here, I like to use Penny Appeal. You can go over there and donate to for Yemen. There are people that need the food. They have people on the ground that are donating, and that are giving food to hand and like aid to hand. So make sure that you, in some way, shape, or form, donate and help them. At the very least, make dua for the people of Yemen, because the Prophet ﷺ made dua for the people of Yemen, and said wonderful things about the people of Yemen, and said that wisdom is in Yemen, and that these were uh, very special people. Not because my family has roots there, but also in general, they are special people. Sayyidina Ishaq alayhi salam married from among them, and this is how we have the Adnani Arabs, because he chose to marry from among them. And Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, obviously, enjoying that marriage as well too. So the people of Yemen have an interesting history in that region, and a pivotal, a very vital, important history going back to the time of Sheba and King Solomon and all those things, right? So, of course, Ahl Sham and Yemen, absolutely. Um, do I think we're close to the end of times? We always are close to the end of time, Ibrahim. Yeah, Ibrahim. The Prophet ﷺ says in his time that we were close to the end of time. So, in relation to the grand scheme of things, of course, we're in the end of times, right? But if you're asking me specifically, do I think that Al-Masih al-Dajjal or Al-Mahdi is going to come out anytime soon? Allahu Alam. But a lot of the reasons why I don't entertain those kind of discussions or talk about them a lot is because I feel like people tend to think that, oh, we'll just wait for that time. We'll be okay when Al-Mahdi comes back, or when Sayyidina Isa comes back, right? But we have an obligation as Muslims right now to behave and to propagate Islam as much as we can, right? And to be on our religion as much as we can. If it happens in our lifetime, then it happens. If not, then we've done our part to prepare the next generation for what may come. But I'd also want to remind people that in that time, it's going to be a very difficult time. It's not going to be easy to live during that time. You know, excuse me, hold on. So I talked about that. More, I heard the UAE has pulled a large number of troops out of Yemen. Is that true? Well, they pulled them out of the Socotra in the south, in those areas, because they wanted to take it over, but they were not having that. But they are still supporting the UAE is one of the largest supporters of the STC, it's called the Southern Transitional Council, along with Saudi Arabia. So Yemen they are heavily dependent on the funding that they get from the UAE and Saudi Arabia. Um, yes, absolutely, Nadia. Absolutely. Um, well, I think what Fahad is saying, yeah, Ali, is that when you have to deal with the trials and tribulations of having to deal with, I mean, whenever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he talks about the end of time, it's a lot about trials and tribulations, man. I mean, families turning against each other, the struggle of holding on to your deen, waking up a Muslim, going to bed as a kafir, waking up as a kafir, going to bed as a Muslim, the fitna of Masih al-Dajjal. Yeah, so many things. I mean, can you imagine what would happen? What if one of your family members decided to be an agent or a follower of Masih al-Dajjal, and now you are conflicted with this, right? I mean, this is a very difficult time to go through. And even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he advised people to go far away from Masih ad-Dajjal if you could, as far away from him. Don't try to think that you can you can face him, right? It's not the type of fitna or the fitna that will be around at that time is going to be immense. So I understand where Fahad is coming from. Not the grave as much, but the fact that he will bring people back to life, floating. You know that I think Masih ad-Dajjal will have certain abilities to, according to some narrations. I don't know if the authenticity of the hadith, but Allah alam. But there are some which mention that he will be able to bring someone back to life, kill them in front of you, and bring them back to life, and that is a very confusing thing to see. Um, Inshallah, Ali, inshallah. But you know, just don't bother me when I'm busy, okay, Ali? Yeah. So I think we talked about Yemen, we talked about Bolingbrook, we talked about what did we talk about? Oh, so just a couple more things, quick things. 100 days, about a little under 100 days left for the election in America between Donald Trump, Abu Ivanka, and Abu Hunter. But for any for anyone to Arab, when you say Abu Hunter, around to Abu Hunter. You know, if you guys. But anyways, uh, but yeah, it's gonna be yeah. But Kanye is crazy, man. I heard Kanye was attacking his wife the other day, saying that he wanted to divorce her. For 2 years, he's been trying to divorce her, and and you know he's having a bipolar breakdown. I don't know, but that should be funny to see. I'm excited. I like to see the results. I want to see you know who had the breakdown with the winning of the election. If the right is gonna melt or if the left is gonna melt. Let's see what happens. I saw the UFC fight night last night. Very good fight for anybody that likes UFC. It was an amazing fight between Whitaker and Till. Um, it was a also great fight between Shogun and Nag. Awesome fight. Um, definitely worth watching. Good fights all around. Um, um, but yeah, sometimes we don't appreciate the lessons in the Quran of how people willingly follow the leaders and do this and even think of the higher road. Yeah, absolutely, and that's how what I'm trying to say that Amr that being around that time is going to be a bit difficult. It's going to be hard to find out what is haq and what is batil, right? You're not going to know. You know, it's going to be very difficult to discern that, and I think that is very troubling. It's very scary to me. I think we as Muslims, one of the things that guides us is we have a strong, clear path on what is haram and what is halal, and to not know that, to not know where to stand, right? That's a very scary place. To not know whether if you are in the fold or out of the fold, right? It's very tough. So, أعوذ بالله من ذلك. يعني I hope we don't. That's why we make the adhkar that Allah protects us from the fitna of Masih ad-Dajjal. Okay. We are coming up to an hour, which is how I generally like to keep my streams to be an hour long. But this is the first of the weekly series I'm going to be doing every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we're going to be starting. So 2 p.m. Central Time. But make sure you guys tune in. Get questions to me before the show. I can't do 3 hours. I don't have the attention span, yeah, Ali. I don't have the patience or the attention span. I already am a fast talker as it is, so I get everything out. But I prefer, yeah, I don't want to make it too overbearing, right? I mean, I listen to people who have live sessions, and I tune out within 45 minutes to an hour. I'm not gonna lie. Even like, I mean, there are some guys I love listening to. I love their points, but after an hour, I'm just like, خلاص يا حبيبي. وجع راسي. Enough. I heard enough. You know. You got it. Backstory, yeah, we could do one. Maybe I'll bring Mahina on. I'm still trying to work on how to get somebody on the show with me. I'm in Chicago, so I don't have all the huge thing like the OBS studio and all that stuff with me right now. I'm using my MacBook. I'm trying the best I can do, but hopefully, yes, we will work on something, inshallah. But yeah, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you guys hit the bell so you're notified when I go live. Follow me on Twitter, more TMM. And make sure you guys tune in next week, inshallah. Um, Unsubscribe my 300 account. Well, I don't even have 300 followers, Ali. I wish I had 300 followers. I don't even think I have that many. Yeah, struggles of practice. Okay, you know what you can do, Floating Man? How about you guys tweet at me the topics that you want me to cover for next week, and we'll talk about those things. All right, that's the best thing I can do for you guys. You can just hit me up on Twitter and or DM me, and we'll talk about that. We'll it'll give me a time also to formulate my thoughts and let them marinate in my mind before I spit them out. So make sure you get your comments and all that stuff to me on Twitter, and I think we will be wrapping up here. So I appreciate all you guys joining in. Thank you for indulging me for this whole hour. Your attention is much appreciated. So I will see you guys next week. I think we have a show on the Catch Me in the Mad Mamluks this Wednesday. I believe we're having a show. Yeah, we're trying to get some good fighters. On the show, we've got one fighter already. We're trying to get some other fighters that we want to interview. Some Muslim guys. Hopefully that works out, inshallah. But other than that, we have some exciting guests coming up. And so remember that. Yes. Likewise, Habibi, Floating Man. So with that being said, I will see you guys when I see you, and we'll be back here next week, same time, same channel. So take care of yourselves. For me. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit the alert button. Yallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.